From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Back here on Fox 59 Tonight with Larry Smith from Fathers and Family Center, talking about life, talking about the options and resources that his organization offers to fathers. Larry, before we get back into the conversation, tell people, one, your website and where they can find your physical building.
We are at 2835 North Illinois, just north of Ivy Tech's Indianapolis downtown campus. And on the web, we're at ffcindiana.org, FFC for Fathers and Family Center, ffcindiana.org.
We have been talking over the past couple of weeks about teenagers and therefore their parents. Everybody has a story. I get that. You know that. Mm-hmm. I know that. But there are common denominators when you meet people. Not every parent is bad, but there are a lot of lousy ones, and we need to recognize that. And then, because people don't want to, no, let's admit, mm-hmm. Not every parent is great, but there are things that we could do to help said parents. That's literally why your organization exists.
No doubt about it.
We've talked about these kids, and my big thing is we have to stop talking about them as if they are young adults making bad decisions. These are people under 18 who don't have the same rights as an adult, and we're all acting, or at least we were acting like we couldn't control them, and there's nothing that anybody could do except the parents. Mm-hmm. And parents obviously do play a role in that. Now we've seen the city step up and make sure that they're going to be rounding kids up if you're out past curfew, and therefore then connecting them with their parents was an idea that I asked the mayor about at the press conference, and now they're doing exactly that. So that's great. But to get to that point, there were a lot of excuses and a lot of organizations saying, hey, we can't do this, or we don't have the money for that, or we don't have the staffing for that, and we can't do this by ourselves. As somebody who's active in the community, Larry, who's trying to help parents, who wants to see people succeed, what do you think of all of this?
Yeah, it is a difficult problem. And, as a community-based organization, a nonprofit organization, we've received funds to help specifically in terms of fatherhood, but the impact on the children. In fact, our mission statement is to equip fathers and empower families so that children thrive. So ultimately, we're trying to affect positively the lives of children, but it is difficult. And it does, begin in the home with parents, again, whether it's a single parent home or a two-parent home, it begins in the home. At the same time, there are economic realities. Parents are adults. Parents are struggling 2 and 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. Maybe they can't always be there. When I was a kid, back in the dark ages, the parents didn't necessarily have to be around. They put the fear of God in you, and you knew. And then there was Mrs. Johnson across the street, and Brother Jones down the street. That you didn't just get in trouble with your parents or your grandparents. You got in trouble with them as well. Well, we don't have that anymore. And then when you talk about, where are these other organizations, the churches, for example, they are doing their part. Organizations like mine are doing their part. But at the end of the day, these nonprofit organizations cannot make up for, in economic terms, the socioeconomic dislocation, right? Lack of jobs, lack of opportunity, and so on in these communities. And so, we need to have structured families and all that. But we also need economic dislocation. Years ago, Olgin Williams, who the unofficial mayor of Hallville, USA, he was on a panel. He said something. This is probably 20 years ago that always stuck with me. He said, "Hey, we were talking about at-risk communities." He said, "We are all at risk. It's just that some of us have access to more resources than others do." And I've never forgotten that.
That is a strong statement. What do you think is the missing link here that, one, we could do more with? I mean, obviously, I think we already know we got to help find these parents and then give them the resources to be better parents, whatever they're missing. Is that it, or is there something else?
I think the answer is multifaceted. So certainly we need to ensure that parents are responsible. We need to support parents so they can be more responsible. That includes paying higher wages and so on. We need to have more community resources open, so youth centers open late at night. If you look at what the mayor of Baltimore did, extended pool hours, extended community service hours, put a lot more money in and people say, well, you're just throwing money at it. No one ever says that when it's a business problem, right? Just as well, you can't solve a business problem with money. Of course, you need money to solve business problems, ingenuity, and out of the box thinking, and all that. But no one says we're going to build a better mousetrap, or we're going to do it without money. It's nonsense. And so we need to pay people more. We need to put more resources into the community. As you know, there are very wealthy communities and counties in the state where they may have the same kinds of problems. They don't necessarily make the news and so on, but they have the resources to take care of those programs or take care of those challenges. And so what I'm saying is that we need the same kind of investment in low-income communities.
There are, that's also going to be harder to do with the current administration, where it's honestly not even about race. People think it is, but when they talk about low income communities, some people think it's one class of people, but it's really a wider net of people who are Black, who are white, and I don't know how we. I don't see any programs out there, that's all stuff that you would want the government to do, or expect the government to do, to help an organization help these people. And right now, there just doesn't appear there is either not the appetite or not the budget,
right,
or both.
And when we're talking about cutting budgets for these programs and these services, we're talking about essential programs and services. Again, whether it's healthcare, youth, or elderly, for that matter. I mean, look, I think it's about triple digits outside right now. Heat stroke is a real issue. Heat exhaustion is a real issue. So if you're in a low income, if you're in an apartment that the air conditioning doesn't work, or you're in a senior center, or whatever, those costs that are there, or if you're a child, a toddler in that situation, there are real human costs. And again, I'm not a person who says, well, we'll just tax people more and all that. Taxes are a part of it, revenue, as they call it in government. And it's not an easy job, irrespective of who's sitting in those seats in the state legislature and the governor's office and so on. It is a difficult job, or in the mayor's office or the city council. It is a difficult job. I get that. But when you start from the proposition that, well, we'll just solve everything by cutting budgets, you're going to end up in a place where I can guarantee you don't want to be.
Ralph Durrett Jr. is the city's chief violence prevention officer, both on here on FOX59 and on my radio show Open Lines. I read his letter. He has been one of the people who we have not got to hear from. He's been at the press conference. He was standing there in the corner. He wasn't asked, selected, whatever, to speak. And so he wrote this 5-page letter. He sent it to me and other folks to share with the public on his thoughts on what he wants to do. He has plenty of ideas. He's met with plenty of organizations like yours that they want to solve the problem with not only youth violence, but violence altogether. But essentially he's saying, no one is asking me, no one is listening, no one wants to give what I have, my thoughts, the time of day. And you were one of the people who heard me read that on the radio, and you had a strong reaction to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was powerful. I mean, it had, I'm serious, tears in my eyes listening to him. This is a man who is in the trenches. And when people say, well, government is not effective, well, government is made up of individuals. It's made up of people, the vast majority of whom, in my experience, are caring, dedicated people. Ralph, who I don't have the pleasure of knowing personally. I think that, our paths have crossed, but he's not a friend. I don't really know him. But I do know, by all accounts, he's a man who's passionate and serious about it. And complex problems take complex solutions, not simple solutions. And that letter that you read, the thought that he put into that, not only that, but then the emotion that comes through is just palpable.
And it was also one of those things. I mean, it was 5 pages. of details, not just a skeleton or what was it, concept of ideas. It was full, thought out plan of what we could and should be doing. And a lot of people would say, well, the reason why it's not getting any traction is because it involves a lot of work and a lot of coordination between people. And it sounds silly, but if you think about it, it makes sense that it is actually just a lot easier to kick it down the road, kick it to somebody else to say that we can't do it than actually do the things that he said in that letter.
Well, when I think about these major challenges, one of the things that comes to mind, and it's cliche, but I still think applies, is President Kennedy. JFK in 1960 said, by the end of this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon, right? And 1 year shy of that, 1969, we did. I mean, so what is the moonshot in this context? When he made that statement, we know there was no even a concept of a plan. There was no idea. He had literally, and neither did anyone in technology have any foggy notion how we were going to do that. But he stated it as a goal. He put the resources behind it. He put the right people into it. And at the end of the day, any complex problem, and then some people say, well, it's not a complex, you just need dads in the home. Well, there are plenty of communities where there are fathers in the home, and there is domestic violence, there is substance abuse, and so on. So that is part of the solution, but it is not the only solution. Yes, we do need resources as well, but we have to make a commitment to it. And people like Ralph are, if he is allowed to see his vision come to fruition, he can get this thing turned around.
Now, we joked after we read that and said, well, hopefully Ralph still has a job.
Right.
Because the for the context, I went through the proper channels, of course, with the press secretary, and go through the office and get, approval from the city for him to appear. And that was not granted. And so that's why he felt that, let me get this letter out here. So if you can read this, because it's what'll happen is people are already wondering, well, why is he in that job then? If he's not getting anything done, why is he in that job?
It's not his fault. And he stuck his neck out, and God bless him for doing that.
Yes, he did. And that's the point that I want people to see, that, hey, he's sticking his neck out here, and he would come if he was allowed. And he's come here. He's come on FOX59. So what can organizations do, Larry? What can the city do? What can people do to support some of these efforts that Ralph is trying to do? Like what? We read that letter. Now what?
First and foremost, make your voice heard. Politicians should be accountable to the people. We elected them. We are their boss. They are accountable to us. So first and foremost, make your voice heard. And that is, a handwritten letter is I can tell you, taken much more seriously than shooting off an email. But if you can't write a handwritten letter, then send off an email. Show up in peaceful protests. As you know, for a variety of causes and issues, there have been protests down at the State House and in other places. So do that as well. Certainly volunteer for. There are many. One great thing about Indianapolis is we have so many in the surrounding counties. We have many nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to improving the community. Certainly give your finances to help the organizations. And people say, "Well, I'm not a millionaire. Maybe I'm not even a thousandaire." But if you can give $5, $10, I'm telling you, it absolutely, positively makes a difference. Pick an organization that is aligned with your values and support that organization, and then collaborate, right? So there are a lot of silos, unfortunately, and some of it is because, we, especially in the nonprofit sector, we're so focused and so busy on whatever issue that we're working on. Sometimes, we need to just lift up our head a little bit so we can see who's around us and collaborate more closely together. And so we try to do that, so just to pick one name, 100 Black Men. Dr. Craig Kinchin has come in and in a short time has really uplifted that organization. And we're, trying to figure out ways to work with him. There's Trusted Mentors, Recycle Force. There's so many organizations that are really dedicated to working in this community. And so we got to collaborate.
Larry, we only have a couple minutes left here, but one of the things I wanted to ask you about as a father, when you guys are talking at Fathers and Family Center, a dad comes to you, and because I'm connecting all this back to the Ralph thing, which connects back to the teens being outside, and some of the parents, unfortunately, one of the moms who had a child get killed downtown, that's not their first time being in this situation, and I don't know that mom. I don't know, all the things that she's been through and what she's tried to do, but I guess I would want to know what you guys at Fathers and Family Center would do or would say, or what advice you would give to a father who has one of these kids who is going down the wrong path, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how to either get them on the right path, because they see where they're going, but they don't know how to tell them that's the wrong road.
Yeah. So first and foremost, love your child no matter what, even when they're unlovable. And yes, children can be unlovable, but we have to love them, embrace them, put our arms around them. I firmly believe that many of these young men, certainly to some degree young women as well, walking around with the guns and all that, somebody needs to tell them that they love them, that they are there for them, that they support them no matter what. So that's one. Two, certainly self-care. A lot of the fathers we deal with have their own traumas, their own challenges. And so we get them resources, mental, emotional, healthcare, substance use disorder care, and all that. So make sure you take care of yourself. Thirdly, community is so crucial, whether you want to say village, community, whatever the case may be, family, friends. We have one cohort of strong fathers each month at Fathers and Family Center. And these are men typically who have had very similar experiences and background, and they can come together in a safe space and talk with each other about those challenges. Certainly, if you don't have if the mother and father don't have a good relationship, repair that relationship, at least to the extent of taking care of your child. Unfortunately, I'm divorced, but my ex-wife and I are very much aligned on the care of our children. They didn't ask to be here. We made them, and it's our responsibility to work together. And, again, I would be remiss if I didn't say, as a man of faith, pray, right? God is real, but God helps those who help themselves. He will walk with us, but we have to take those steps ourselves. So walk in faith. And, at the end of the day, the sad reality is we're not going to save every child, but every one that we save is a life worth saving.
These are topics that you guys talk about. I guess, what would be the program? Is there a program right now for that dad to have that conversation at your guys' organization?
Oh, absolutely. If you come and sit in on our class, you will see we talk about these issues in our Strong Fathers class every day. These men pour out their hearts. They are concerned, and I'm talking about, these are some of the hardest cats you have. I'm talking about teardrop tattoos on their eyes and neck tattoos and all that. But they've realized that the path that they were going down was the wrong path. A, and B, they don't want to see their children go down that same path. So we have those, real raw discussions and come up with solutions collectively.
How often are you guys having that conversation, and how can you get in?
Yeah, so literally you can sign up on the website. We always encourage people to come in and we can have a conversation. We have orientation before the Strong Fathers class. Strong Fathers is 3 weeks, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It doesn't cost anything. In fact, we pay you to come. We pay you $100 a week. Yes, just to come to class. We pay you, right, to come to class. And then at the end, again, apply for a job, go through certification training. We pay $250,000 a year to send men through certification. Or if you want to be an entrepreneur, our great VP of Programs and Partnerships, Corey Parchman, retired NFL player, serial entrepreneur, he'll teach you how to be an entrepreneur. And I will say, only half jokingly, we have men who come to us with some entrepreneurial experience.
I understand that.
You understand, right?
Yes.
You could but in all seriousness, those same skills,
yes,
you can apply in a legitimate way.
Just
right?
a different product.
Just a different product. So absolutely. But any father, we are here to help you.
All right. Hey, Larry, I appreciate you coming on, telling us all the good things that you guys are doing. Because again, we've got to continue to highlight organizations like yours. It is as it is going to get harder for people, and there are going to be fewer and fewer resources for them. So we got to make sure we keep telling them that there is help out there.
Thank you for having me again. Always appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Fox 59 tonight. We'll continue this conversation on another night at 8 o'clock at night, and we'll also continue it Sunday mornings on my radio show, Open Lines on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9. Until then, I'm Cameron Riddle. Have a good night.